Welcome to the 19th episode of Flippin' Friday, and today we're building a PC that costs less than $450, so this is perfect for you budget ballers out there. But we're also featuring a case that could potentially be a new flip specifically for PC flippers.
Not so fast, Lone Star.
But there's only one way to find out. We gotta start putting some parts inside of it. Let's take a quick look at the performance parts real quickly. Starting with the CPU, this is the Ryzen 5 2600, which we haven't featured too often. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But I picked this up for $80, and you can very easily repeat that same price. For the motherboard, this I got a pretty solid deal on. This is the MSI B450 Gaming Plus. It's a red and black motherboard. Only cost me $40 on Mercari. The RAM that we're plugging into it is the XBG Z1 2x8GB kit, clocked at 3200 megahertz, nice and fast for a Ryzen 2600. I bought this for the very normal price of $50 on Amazon. And then for the graphics card, this was a good find, but also repeatable. This is a Sapphire Pulse RX 570, specifically the 4GB model. And more important than that, is it's also featuring the red and black look that we're going for. Pick this up for $80 on eBay. That's the performance parts. Now we can start building.
Real quickly, I just wanted to remind you guys that today's build was indeed activated with Windows like all my other PC builds and flips, and I personally use GVG Mall, which is also the sponsor of today's video. To celebrate their mid-year promotion for 2022, they're actually bumping up our normal 18% off discount up to 25% off, and that gets Windows keys and everything else down to some really affordable prices. They also have other great products on other software like Office 2021 and even some game keys from platforms like Steam, Origin, and Uplay, and they even have console stuff too like PSN and Xbox prepaid cards as well. Activating that Windows 10 on your computer is super simple to do. The entire process of buying and activating takes like 5 minutes total, so make sure you click that first link down in the description and don't forget to use discount code ZTT18 for 25% off.
Like I said, I wanted to talk about the Ryzen 5 2600 because we're just not seeing it in build guides lately, despite like probably a year to 2 years ago, it was one of the best budget CPUs for budget flips. And the reason we're not seeing it is because the price is usually not making sense anymore. So a lot of people are still trying to sell the 2600 for around like $100 or so. And that just doesn't make sense when we have Intel 10th gen i3s, the 10100F and the 10105F. That is absolutely trumping these 2600s. Now, the one time I will recommend it are times like this, where you can get this for cheap for like $80 or so, but then you absolutely got to take advantage of Ryzen and the cheap B450 motherboards like we have here. This entire combo only costs $120, $80 for the CPU, $40 for the motherboard. That's really the only time I would recommend it. And I also have this in inventory, which is why we're using it today. But yeah, definitely be aware of that. The 2600 isn't as valuable as it used to be because for most budget flips, the i3's 10th gen should be replacing it. Oh, I forgot to do this. Rotate the CPU cooler. It's been a minute since I've used a stock Ryzen CPU cooler, so if you're brand new to the channel and haven't seen me do that before, basically all I was doing was rotating the AMD logo on the Ryzen CPU cooler. By default, that logo will be on the left or the right-hand side, and it just looks very dumb. You gotta completely remove this shroud assembly from the heatsink and rotate it 90 degrees. Then it'll be up and down and just, again, aesthetics over everything. This SSD has actually never made it onto the channel before. This is the Patriot P310, and this is a perfect example of why you should join us in the ZTT Discord server. Our Dr. Deals, aka Dr. Zoomer, posted this on sale for just $36, which is a 500 gigabyte NVMe drive. This gets cheaper than the Team Group MP33, which is what a lot of us PC flippers are using. So the Discord links are down in the description. If you're a PC flipper and you want to save some money, join us over there. So Brian and I were just discussing different cable comb options, and he was asking why they don't just come pre-cable comb, because this is always a super annoying process. And the reason they don't is because you can mix and match the colors. Like these Asia Horse models, they always come with a solid color and a translucent color. But the problem with this one, with the red specifically, which is kind of annoying on Asia Horse's part, like usually they're always super clutch, but this red shade on the cable comb is drastically different than the red shade on the actual cables themselves. And if you're looking at the wrong light, like this is like almost maroon versus like a nice bright vibrant red. So I'm definitely not a fan of how that's looking. So because we are going to be building an all black and red gaming PC, this is an exact reason why I keep spare cable combs with me at all times. And this is from a brand called Up Here. You can buy these kits for like $4 or $5 or so, but I think it's gonna be really cool adding these black cable combs to the red extension. It's gonna be super contrasty, and it's just gonna fit the overall theme of the build. I think it's gonna look nice. Now that the cable extensions are taken care of, we do have to make one final decision, and that is what color do we want to make the vinyl on the power supply, because our case does have a cutout. We can either go with black or red, so I'm going to do this in real time while we're recording. I'm not sure how perfect this red is going to line up with our other red accents. It actually matches up really nicely with the motherboard red, but it's a little bit faded or darker compared to the red on the extensions, and it's a little off on the red of the graphics card. So I think I'm gonna go with black. I'm always really careful when using the red color, just because on gaming PC components, there's always so many different shades of red. It's a really tough color to match. So I think we're gonna play it safe this time. We're still gonna go with the black carbon fiber. This will look so much better than like this ugly yellow, black, and pink sticker on here. I think this is the right call. And now that the motherboard and the power supply are prepped, it's time to get out our case, and this is what I'm really looking forward to for today's episode of Flippin' Friday. This is the Zalman i3 Neo, and this recently went on a ZTT deal down to a very nice $69, and I'm kind of hoping that this is the new meta for us PC flippers. It's all black, full ATX size. It has the cutout for our vinyl action, which we were just talking about, and most importantly, it comes pre-installed with 4 RGB fans. Now, this not only saves us a ton of money, because 4 RGB fans is anywhere from an extra $20, $40, sometimes even $50, but it's also pre-installed, meaning we're gonna save a ton of time building in it. So I'm rooting for the Zalman i3 Neo here. I'm not sure if it's gonna be as good as Joe from Amazon thinks it is, but we're about to find out, because we're gonna put the motherboard in here and give it a full review.
Nope.
So the whole thing about this case becoming a new meta came to a screeching halt, because as soon as I opened up the back panel, I realized that there was no way to change the color of these RGB fans. And I just did some digging online and on the manual and whatnot. And it turns out that Tom from Amazon has no idea what he was talking about.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
These are non-addressable, non-changeable at all RGB fans. Now, we have seen this before. They can only be rainbow puke. One of the Matrix cases, either the Matrix 40 or the Matrix 50 RGB version, has the same thing. So I never recommend buying that, just because a lot of people don't like rainbow puke. It's mind-boggling how many people do like rainbow puke. I was really hoping that we would be able to set these to red or white to match the aesthetics of our build. So we're gonna have to change some things a little bit. The first thing is we are definitely gonna just remove the cable extensions from our power supply, because we can't have this red and black aesthetic going on when all of the RGB colors are just gonna be rainbow puke RGB. That would look very weird. And I am gonna make the decision to swap out our graphics card as well, because I don't really wanna waste the aesthetics of this RX 570 Sapphire Pulse model. I really like using this with red and black gaming PC. So we're gonna downgrade it a little bit. That'll make things a little bit cheaper for our flip, honestly, but we're gonna get less performance, of course. This is the EVGA GTX 960. This is pretty much the only budget all black graphics card that I have available right now. So we're just gonna have to use what we have. And the new color scheme of the build, everything's gonna be black, and then the colors of the RGB, the Rainbow Puke RGB, are what's gonna be like essentially the entire aesthetic game of this. So the only thing that's gonna mismatch a little bit is our motherboard. I'm not gonna swap this out. We're gonna have some red accents on here, but that won't look too bad because it's gonna be deep in the case. It's gonna be a little bit darker in there, so you shouldn't see it too much. Doing a complete 180 on this 19th episode of Flippin' Friday. But unfortunately, this is what sometimes happens, especially when you trust reviewers who think that this is the best case on the entire planet. I hate Tom. We're at the last step here, and we're gonna install this EVGA GTX 960. And like I said, this is definitely a little bit of a disappointment. Now, the other thing I could have done is I could have just swapped out all of these RGB fans and then try to maintain our red and black color scheme that we were going for. But I really don't want to do that because I can't possibly recommend spending $69 on this case and then also having to buy RGB fans. So it is what it is. These types of problems will happen with PC flippers. While I have you, I do want to turn this on real quickly, and we're going to experience what this case looks like for the very first time. So we're going to witness what this RGB puke is looking like. And boom, there you go. Overall, like, all black products with RGB Rainbow Puke doesn't actually look that bad. Now, it could have been a little bit better if we weren't using a red and black motherboard like we're doing here, but overall, we're still gonna be able to sell this. It's a Ryzen 5 2600 with a GTX 960. We're not gonna be making huge profits with that type of parts list anyway, but this is what it's looking like. Sometimes these things happen, and I'm glad that I can document the experience with you guys on Flippin' Friday. And here is what the full parts list is looking like, and as you can see, I paid less than $500 and now less than $450 with the GPU swap for the entire build, and all of these are good but repeatable deals. Spending $120 on the entire CPU and motherboard combo is such a great start for PC flipping, but remember, I really only recommend this combo if the total price is really low these days because of the super low price of the 10th gen Intel i3s. And definitely worth mentioning is that 750 GT is also certainly overkill for a build like this. I'm personally just trying to clear some inventory space, and I bought a bunch of these for $40, and I haven't been able to beat that deal yet, even with something with less wattage, so that's why I'm using it in this build today. I do think that although these parts are a bit older, you'll still be able to get maybe around $100. I doubt you can get $150 profit for a build like this. That GTX 960 is not screaming value here in 2022, but overall, we'll still make a little bit of a profit on something like this, but it would have been much better with the RX 570. And if you do want to see what the 2600 and GTX 960 are capable of, Sam of course has us covered with a quick 10-game benchmarking run, and here are the results. Our CPU and GPU combo has been out for like over half a decade at this point, so the results on this should not be surprising. The GTX 960 can still kick it in 1080p, but we're not going to be getting that high of FPS numbers, and we can't use that high of settings. And as always, this build will be sold over on my website, zackstechdrive.com. This one will be posted on the September 1st launch, and if you are interested in buying one of my builds, please remember that they have been selling very quickly on the website, so make sure you join us in the ZTT Discord server. That way you get all of the updates on that. And hopefully you enjoyed our 19th episode of Flippin' Friday. It's always fun being able to document whenever things go wrong instead of like just you guys thinking that everything in Zach's flipping world goes perfectly fine. I run into the same issues like you guys are probably doing, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to click the playlist that's on the screen now to make sure you're caught up on all the other Flippin' Friday episodes. I'll catch you guys in the next video.